benefits today, and millions more will join soon. Now, a new study finds 70% of Americans don't get the full benefits they deserve. But recipients can use simple strategies to boost Social Security benefits by as much as $188,000 over a lifetime. Social Security expert Michael Allen says it's true and reveals 5 key strategies to increase your benefits. It's all in his free special report. Newsmax calls the report your best guide for bigger Social Security benefits. Whether you're getting benefits or soon will, you need the Social Security report. Get it free. Call 800-999-9690. 800-999-9690. We'll text it to you right away, along with President Trump's act cutting your Social Security taxes. Call now, 800-999-9690. 800-999-9690. Text and data rates may apply.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
After a record cold start yesterday in single digits, we'll see a big warm up today into the mid-70s under partly cloudy skies. West northwesterly winds will get breezy at 15 to 25, gusting to 35 miles per hour, and could cause some blowing dust along with the red flag warning in place for Yuma County in Colorado, Dundee, Hitchcock, and Red Willow in Nebraska, along with Cheyenne in Kansas. Tonight's lows will be more mild, around 40. Tomorrow, more sunshine and even warmer highs reaching into the low to mid 80s, again with west winds at 15 to 35 miles per hour. We will have a fire weather watch in place for counties north and west of the line from Goodland to McCook. Thursday through Saturday, a heat ridge over the Great Basin will expand into the area with near record to record high temperatures ranging from 85 to 95 degrees and lows in the 40s. With the west southwesterly wind at 10 to 20, gusts to 25 miles per hour. This meteorologist Chris Schromick, the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
When you gotta go, but there's nowhere to go, who you gonna call? Topside Portables and Pumping, that's who. Weddings, job sites, farm parties, they've got clean, reliable porta potties that don't stink, literally. And if your septic tank smells worse than last year's chili cook-off, they'll pump it out fast. No mess, no fuss. Family owned, Heartland values, always ready. Call 785-728-8089. That's 728-8089. Topside Portables and Pumping. When duty calls, they answer.
Get ready for the 10th annual Schilling Cattle Production Sale. It's happening Wednesday, March 25th at 1 p.m. Central Time in Brewster, Kansas. We're selling 50 Angus bulls, 2 Limflex bulls, and 20 Angus heifers. Big, stout, performance-driven cattle with an excellent selection of Calvin-Ease bulls. You can check out the cattle on Facebook at Schilling Cattle and watch the sale live on DV Auction. Come see great cattle, meet great people, and enjoy some fantastic food. Mark your calendar now for the Schilling Cattle Production Sale on Wednesday, March 25th.
The days are getting longer, the roads are calling, and it's a great time to upgrade your ride at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland. Right now, get 1.9% APR for 36 months on a 2026 GMC Terrain, the perfect SUV for wherever the road takes you. Need a truck? Take advantage of up to $7,000 in rebates on a 26 GMC Sierra 1500 with eligible trade-in. And for serious capability, get $500 bonus cash on a new 2026 GMC 3500. See the full lineup today at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland or online at hurlchev.com.
At Ray Community District Hospital and Clinic, they believe in promoting healthier living through compassionate quality care. From state-of-the-art maternity care to life-saving emergency services, their dedicated team is there for you and your family. Whether it's managing diabetes, navigating recovery, or receiving specialized treatments, they're committed to your well-being. Discover the difference a community-focused hospital can make. Visit rayhospital.org today to learn more. Ray Community District Hospital and Clinic. Your health, our priority.
Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, launching a new project, or just looking for that extra edge, your brain is your most valuable asset. Now there's a way to support it every single day. Think Factor. From the makers of Relief Factor, Think Factor is built to help you stay sharp, nurture your memory, boost your attention. It unlocks the mental clarity and precision you need to stay ahead of the game, no matter the challenge. After a couple of weeks of taking Think Factor, I noticed a dramatic difference in my clarity, my focus, even my memory. And look, the longer you take Think Factor, the better it works. This is not a one-off. You want to take Think Factor regularly. If you're a go-getter who refuses to settle, Think Factor can help you perform at your best and keep your edge. Call 800-4RELIEF. That's 800-4RELIEF, or just visit relieffactor.com to order Think Factor. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. Your first bottle is just $19.95. Think Factor. Think clearer, perform better daily with Think Factor.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
There is a benefit to building a team and keeping it together for the length of time. But that does not happen anymore because of the portal and NIL and money.
The High Plains only local sports talk show, broadcasting live on Goodlands Rocket 102.5 and video streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Covering it all from the preps to the pros.
It's gone! Watch it fly! Jack Caglione! His first big league home run!
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, along with
Pestaway LLC, Topside Portables and Pumping, Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell, and the Insurance Agency.
Let's go to work.
Top of the morning to you. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all you out there. It's Tuesday, March the 17th. Glad you decided to join us here on this edition of the Morning Blitz. Oh my, beautiful start to this morning. A nice crisp and cool 28. The sun coming up though. No wind at this point in time. Could be a little blustery today. Going to be much warmer than yesterday, though. Temperature is going to reach the mid-70s as part of today's weather forecast, but we could see some wind gusts up to around 30 miles per hour, which is, nothing for us anymore when it comes to this kind of stuff. Nonetheless, glad you're with us here on the show. If you want to be part of it, the F&B Bank text line is open at 785-899-2222. We got a big show ahead today. The back end of the program, I will get to my 5 most impactful players in this year's NCAA tournament. I went through, and it's kind of, I'm talking about guys that we should be talking about the entire tournament, not just maybe first round guys, not just guys that, make an impact for a weekend, guys that we're going to be talking about the entire tournament because their team is going to have success and they're going to be at the precipice of that success. And so I'm going to give out my 5 most impactful players on this year's NCAA tournament bracket. So we will get to all that. Another programming reminder, no shows Thursday or Friday. Will not be here on my way to I'll be in Oklahoma City at that point in time on Thursday morning and Friday. So no shows Thursday or Friday here on the Morning Blitz. So do not be alarmed if you tune in and you hear, we're going to music, and that's the reason why I am out of the office for those 2 days. So no show Thursday or Friday. I will be in the first round of the NCAA tournament down in Oklahoma City. So no shows Thursday or Friday. Don't be alarmed. We still have today's show, of course, and tomorrow's show, and trust me, you're going to want to be around for those. We've got phenomenal guests joining us today and tomorrow. Look forward to sharing who the surprise guest is tomorrow. But today we will be joined by Sam Hadfield. He'll join us to talk about bracketology. He's from 801 Bracketology. We had him on a couple weeks ago. He was phenomenal. We'll have him on again today to get his thoughts post-bracket reveal. And let me tell you, he had once a very successful bracket. His bracketology was very accurate compared to the regular one. He was one of the more accurate bracketologists in the country. And so we will get with him and discuss all that, even have questions and stuff. If you have questions for Sam Hadfield about maybe the NCAA tournament and the bracket that you're trying to fill out, go do that as well. Also, of course, speaking of brackets, don't forget the bracket challenge. Our NWKS Radio bracket challenge is taking place right now. So if you want to get out to a sponsoring location and pick up a bracket, you can do so. Once again, you can find brackets by texting the word bracket to our text line, one of our 2 text line. The one is 785-460-0790. You can text that to the word bracket to the text line, and it should respond back to you with a list of the sponsoring locations, or you can go to nwksradio.net, find a list of sponsoring locations as well to be a part of this year's bracket challenge. So once again, be a part of this year's bracket challenge, have a chance to win $1,500 in cash. Okay, so like I said, Sam Hadfield, we'll talk 5 most impactful players in the tournament, get a little bit later on the show, but want to kick off the show talking about probably maybe the news of the day yesterday, at least when it comes to K-State fans. As their new head men's basketball coach, Casey Alexander, was introduced at K-State yesterday. So we had known for a while that Casey Alexander was going to be the new head coach at Kansas State. That news kind of came out late last week, like maybe Wednesday or Thursday. Came out the news that he has accepted the job as the new head men's basketball coach at K-State, coming over from Belmont, and where he had more than 300 career wins, and including 166 at Belmont and 4 conference titles over the last 4 seasons with the Bears there. I think it's the Bruins. I think it's the Bruins at Belmont. Nonetheless, and so he was flown in, and Gene Taylor had a short introduction, and Casey Alexander got up there and gave an opening statement and talked with the media as well. Had a breakout session afterwards. And so I was able to kind of go watch it. I went back and watched the introductory press conference, and was able to get some audio from that as well. And so so in case you didn't get to hear K-State's new basketball coach, you can do it right now here on the Morning Blitz. So want to start first and foremost off with Gene Taylor. He stepped up to the mic, didn't spend a lot of time up there, was very short and quick about things. One thing the things that stood out to me that Gene Taylor said, athletic director for Kansas State. The first thing was, he said Alexander checked a lot of the boxes that they were looking for when it came to looking for the next head men's basketball coach at K-State.
We were looking for experienced head coach. We want a coach with a proven track record of success and consistent success wherever he's coached. He's won at every place that he's been. And those are things that were important to us as we look for our next head coach. But the most important thing is he really, really wanted to be at K-State. He wanted this job really bad, and that came through very clearly in our conversations with him.
So and here's the thing: when you hire it, usually what happens when you hire a coach at this level, and it may happen at the lower levels, but when you hire a coach and you get a coach of a certain way, and then you usually, when it doesn't end up working, you usually end up going in a different direction. So you think about the previous hire. Gene Taylor brings in Jerome Tang. Jerome Tang had no head coaching experience at the Division I level. He was an assistant at Baylor, very, very highly regarded assistant, but he wasn't a head coach and didn't have any experience in that. You go with a guy, and Casey Alexander has been coaching for a long time, albeit at the lower levels of, Lipscomb, Stetson, Belmont for many years now. So you can definitely tell that probably the biggest thing is they wanted a guy who was seasoned in being a head basketball coach, and it had success in doing that, as Gene Taylor said. And Casey Alexander checks a lot of those boxes. He's had a lot of in-conference success. He has not, had a lot of success in the tournament. In fact, he's only made 1 NCAA tournament appearance in his tenure as being a head coach. That was actually with Lipscomb. It was not with Belmont. He did not make the tournament any of those years. Unfortunately, this year they won the regular season title, but did not end up winning the Missouri Valley Conference tournament, so they didn't get in. That was Northern Iowa who did it this year. So more from Gene Taylor. So like I said, they really went for the opposite of what Jerome Tang was previously. More from Gene Taylor. The biggest question that was asked to both, I think it's maybe on the minds, and so it was asked to both Taylor and to Alexander, was, how he's going to transition from coaching, at the lower levels, of the Missouri Valley, no offense to that conference, but at the lower levels to maybe the top basketball conference in the nation, the Big 12.
He talked about the transition from Belmont, Lipscomb to here. And he was very clear, the Big 12 is not an easy place to coach. But his plan and his vision for our program and how to get there was very, very clear and very well thought out. And we really appreciated that. He wants a program that you as fans can enjoy watching and being a part of and can fill Bramlage up. He talked about the excitement of that more than anything.
So that was really the two things that Gene Taylor said. He didn't get up there and talk for a long time, just was kind of made a few quick points and then stepped out of the way for Casey Alexander, who, by the way, is a shorter guy. He actually had a really funny comment when he stepped up to the mic. He goes, I'm not real. He made a kind of a joke about, I'm only 5'8", but you're going to get all me as you can. He's not very big. I think he's only 5'8", maybe 5'10", not a very tall guy. And it's kind of funny because Gene Taylor gets up to the microphone. He's behind the mic and he's pretty tall. And, if you can see on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream, his head's way above the microphone. And then when they switch to Alexander, they don't move the mic, but he's kind of down here behind the microphone a little bit. He's not a very tall guy. Not a very tall guy as Casey Alexander decided, but he made a little joke about his height, which was funny. Seemed comfortable in his own skin for sure. One of the first things he talked about, and everybody always wants to know kind of what is going to be your style of play. And here's what Alexander say about what to expect out of the style of play in transitioning from Belmont to Kansas State, what fans can expect to see from his teams.
We want to be a style that is fun to play, fun to watch, fun to cheer for, and leads to wins. Obviously, we want to be high tempo. Every coach in the world is going to say they want to be high tempo, all right, and get up and down the floor. Not every coach can say they're typically in the top 25 in the country in that category per year or scoring per game. We want to be a high assist team. We want to be a really unselfish team. We want to get a lot of work done at the 3-point line, but we don't want to live and die at the 3-point line. We want to be really efficient outside the arc, inside the arc. Our team this year at Belmont was the number one effective field goal percentage team in the country. So we had great success offensively through the years, but we do it in an efficient way. It's not a track meet. It's just let's figure out how to get the right kind of players who have the right skills. Above all else, understand what it means to play together, all right? That want to share the ball, that understand what it means to be a great, great teammate. All the things that this day and age are a little tougher to come by, quite honestly. There's a lot out there that distracts from the business at hand, which is winning. But we want guys that are still committed to that, and that's exactly how we're going to build.
I liked how he said, we want to play up tempo. We want to play fast. And he goes, every coach in America will say that. That's true, because that's pretty much what every basketball coach says. We want to play up tempo. We want to play fast. I think the thing that stands out to me about his teams at Belmont, once again, how skilled offensively, like he said it, efficiently, how efficient they are on the offensive end. They score a lot of points. They make a lot of threes, but they don't take a lot of extra ones. They are very good about making baskets. They are good basket-making teams at Belmont. They're always very good offensively, is the style of play. He did, and I don't know if this audio is in there, I apologize if it is, but but he also talked about, we want to, we of course want to have, be a very good offensive team, but you don't win basketball games just being great offensive. You got to have a great defensive side as too, and we're going to be solid. We're going to try and be as best solid as we can in that area. So it wasn't like he didn't talk about defense. I don't know if I have any of that audio on here or not. I apologize if I repeat something that he says. But he knows that he's got a good offensive acumen. And he's had a lot of great players that really know how to score the basketball and do it very efficiently in his time there at Belmont. The question is, can he bring that to Kansas State? Like I mentioned, they asked, the media asked Gene Taylor brought it up, didn't get asked. He brought up about how, people have been asking him kind of off the record about, well, what are your thoughts on him being able to transition to the Big 12? They asked Casey Alexander, K-State new head basketball coach, that thought on coaching in the Big 12.
The level is very different. I'm not naive to anything that we're walking into right here. This is a heck of a league with some great teams and some Hall of Fame coaches, unbelievable venues, fan bases that dictate winning and losing. There's a curve that's out there for us for sure. But I'm confident in who we are. I'm confident in how we're going to do it. I'm confident we can win here. I'm confident we can win here quickly. I'm confident we can live here consistently.
It's hard to tell. You don't know. you have no idea I'm speaking from a coach. You have no idea if what you've done in the past is going to work at the next level. You have no clue if it's going to work or not. You hope it does, obviously, and you have the confidence that you think it's going to work, but you don't know for a fact if it's going to. You just got to hope that what you have taught and what your belief in is going to go in and work in the Big 12. And once again, if you can make shots and you can get stops, you can win a lot of basketball games. And that doesn't matter where you play or who you are. If you can do those two things, you're going to be good. K-State could make a lot of shots this year in this very bad season of just 12 wins, but they could not get stops. And that was the thing that really hurt them here this year. So you got to have both. And like I said, he mentioned that, you don't have you don't have a good team, offensive team, if you don't have great defense too. You can't win a lot of games. Maybe the two most fascinating quotes that I took away from the press conference, a lot of it was just a lot of coaching jargon, as you would expect, your typical canned answers from coaches. Every coach says it, but there were a couple things that I thought were interesting. One of the big things I think that has hurt Kansas State men's basketball the last few years has been roster retention and roster turnover. Every year they seem to start over pretty much with a brand new basketball team. And I think that has hurt the fan base when they don't win. They're like, we have no ties to this basketball team. Why do we need to be here? And so retention has not been there. And every single year it's a new team. And yes, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Casey Alexander on roster retention and not roster turnover as much.
The good thing about doing this in this modern day is things can change quickly, and sometimes you throw darts and you hope you get lucky and strike gold, and it happens. And it's some short-term pleasure that everybody loves. What I would love for you to see is a program that from year to year, what the identity of our team is. You recognize faces from year to year. When you walk in there, the style of play you're going to get. And it's super predictable. And we got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to change. That stuff happens all the time in athletics and within a game. But I want you to see some consistency. I want you to know our players. I want them to be in the community. I want them to be here consistently. I want to see some retention. All right. I don't want to flip a roster over every season. And that might take a minute or two for us to get to that point. I think we probably have quite a bit of turnover this go around. But we don't want to see that on an annual basis. We want to build a program.
I think that was a fascinating answer. The funny thing is he talked the very first 10 seconds of the quote, sometimes you flip a roster and you strike gold. And that's what K-State did the last time they got a new head coach. They flipped a roster and they struck gold. They haven't come even close to striking it even since. And I think a lot of people in these parts of the country want to have that type of team. They want to see the guy that comes back, and is there for 2 or 3 years and helps build a winning culture. I think there's a lot of fans that want to see that kind of thing, particularly in the Midwest. The kids that come in, they work hard. Maybe they're not a humongous contributor when they start, but maybe by the time they're able to hopefully graduate with the same institution. You love those guys because they've worked their way through that. And I think it's a humongous part for Kansas State going forward. They have to find a way to get guys to come in and stay in Manhattan for at least 2 to 3 years and build some consistency there. And I do think Casey Alexander will be a guy that tries to go do that if he can once again find the guys that he wants. We'll get to that next quote here, but and then probably the most fascinating thing, and I'm interested in this too. For K-State, there hasn't been a whole lot of local high school recruiting, particularly in the Jerome Tang era. Now, I'm not trying to sit here and say that Kansas is just abundant with NCAA Division I basketball talent, high-end basketball talent, but there are some really good players. I mean, you're going to see one of them here in the NCAA tournament playing for Illinois. Keaton Wagler, pretty darn good player that never got sniffed around even by Kansas. And Kansas State maybe could have sniffed around with them. Never, ever got recruited, anything like that. There's some good play. There's a Love kid at Olathe North that's quite highly talented. I don't know if he's good enough to play Division I basketball. I don't think he does have a Division I offer. I could be wrong on that, but there are some good players that come from the state to time to time. There's a young man, I think a big guy down in Wichita. I think he's 7 foot. There's some Division I talented players. What about high school recruit and in general, honestly? Because in the previous years for K-State, it has been about the portal and bringing in older guys. Now, don't get me wrong. You have to have older guys. And in today's college athletics, you have to get old and you need to stay old in order to have success, because a lot of teams are that. They're older guys. They're 22, 23-year-old guys that are playing in their 4th or 5th years, and sometimes even more. They're playing, and those are the teams that are having success, that have, not all of them, but a majority of them having a lot of success. They're sticking around. They're collecting big paychecks. And they believe that's the way it's kind of going, at least at this point in time. It's hard to win with a lot of younger players. Still, though, you need those grassroots guys that help keep your culture intact. And so, Alexander, on high school recruiting for his program,
I think it's critical. I think it's a missing piece for a lot of programs out there right now that are fluctuating from, bad to good to great. Just depends on what year you're looking at it, and it's not easy at all. There are a lot of guys out there with people in their ear, and everybody seems to have a different agenda, but the like-mindedness that it requires to be a really good team and a really good program requires some retention from year to year, in my opinion. And it'll be probably the most important part of our plan when you think about recruiting and year to year and building something. Again, in the old days, when a coach got hired, it was like, hey, let's give that guy 3 or 4 years, get his players in here. I mean, my gosh, that's about a 3 or 4 month turnaround now. And then they'll never know what's going to happen. But the retention piece is so huge. We want to recruit some really good high school players, and we want to keep them. And the more you do that annually, the more retention you're going to have. You're always going to have people out of the portal. You're always going to have to fill needs with portal guys. All right. But we don't want fruit basket turnover where everything's brand new every year, as best as we can help it. The language and the system, the carryover from, just year to year with leadership, all those things are so important to the success of your team if you really care about the team. And so that'll be a focus of ours.
Yeah, very good. I love the comments there from Casey Alexander on high school recruiting. I think it's very big. Love the fruit basket turnover. I'd never heard that quote before, but I like it. Fruit basket turnover. Yeah, but he said it's right. It's a hard deal. And guess what? There's going to be a lot of turnover in the first year for him. He's going to bring in a bunch of his own guys that he believes that can do what he wants them to do. And there may be a lot of turnover in year 2 when he realizes that maybe some of his guys that he brings in maybe can't do it at this level, and he's got to change. Maybe some different players. There's going to be some change, but long term, you hope by years 3, 4 in the Casey Alexander 5-year deal that he's able to kind of get a base, a good foundation for his program when it comes to high school basketball recruiting. I think overall, there was nothing in that he was not. They always ask, did he win the press conference? Did he lose it? I don't know if he won it or he lost it. He was just kept the status quo. One thing I saw, and I could agree with this, it felt like he was very genuine. He was not one of those guys like, rah, 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 we're going to do this, we're going to do that, which I think Jerome Tang kind of was when he took over, which I don't have any problem with high-energy guys. Casey Alexander seemed just more like your good old Southern boy, like, yeah, we're going to, we got this, we're going to do this, and we'll see. My guess is he, in his heart of hearts, he's probably like, yeah, I wanted this. I want an opportunity to coach at a bigger level. That would be here in the Big 12. I'm excited to do that. He's probably thinking that, I want an opportunity. Now, do I know, am I good enough to do that? He probably has the confidence to think, but he, in his heart of hearts, probably knows, I don't know, we're going to find out. And hopefully I can. His biggest thing, once again, I think will being able to get, and he talked about this, and I don't have the audio for it, but he talked about how his biggest thing will be, wanting to get certain type of players, guys that are good shot makers, efficient shot makers, guys that know how to work on the defensive end. He wants those type of players, but he also said, everybody wants those type of players, and we got to find a way to get them there. Gene Taylor did say, in a breakout session, he did say something along the lines of that, the NIL financial backing for Alexander is going to be pretty much the same as it was for Jerome Tang. He did say that in a little bit of a breakout session. But yeah, that was the audio I saw from Casey Alexander and listen to his press conference. Like I said, a down-home guy. We'll wish him the best. We'll see what happens with him coming up here in the coming years with the Casey Alexander era there at Kansas State. Okay, let's get to a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream by our man Sam Hatfield of 801 Bracketology. He had himself a phenomenal 2026 bracketology year. We'll get with him next, and stick around. Plenty to get to here on a Tuesday edition of the Morning Blitz.
You can feel it in the air. Longer days, greener lawns, and plenty of projects waiting around the house. Good thing Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland has you covered. Freshen up your home with Benjamin Moore paint, tackle the yard with powerful Ego battery tools, and give your lawn the boost it needs with Stage 1 Ultimate Fertilizer. Thinking about cooking outside? Check out their great selection of grills, griddles, smokers, and outdoor living essentials. And remember, if you need it, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware probably has it. They even have milk. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your place for just about everything.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pestaway in Goodland, Kansas, serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pestaway today at 785-728-7166. For fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning, this is Tom Saluto with the Anderson Trade Group with your overnight market report on March 17th. The overnight session, May corn was up 1 at 4.55. July corn up 1 at 4.66.5, and Sep corn up 1 at 4.68.5. May soybeans up 4 at 11.59. July soybeans up 6 at 11.73.5, and August soybeans up 10 at 11.62.5. May KC wheat down 3 at 6.13. July KC down 2.5 at 6.27.5, and Sep KC down 3 at 6.41.5. The Dow Jones is currently up 160 points at 47,450. The S&P is up 17 points at 6,773. NASDAQ is up 47 points at 24,938. Gold is up 13 points at 5,015 an ounce. Silver slightly up at 81 an ounce, and crude oil is slightly up at 94.5 a barrel. Around the Colorado area and have any grain to market or risk management questions, please call John Hanke or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or you can call myself, Tom Saluto, Jared Law, or Tyler Ghosh in the Overland Park office at 913-748-3000. Thank you.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
If you're buying or selling cattle, make your first stop livestockmarket.com. Bred cows, heifers, pairs, bulls and frozen genetics, even feeder calves. You'll find them all at livestockmarket.com. Livestock Market features private treaty sales, online auctions, and live production sale bidding. You'll also find horses, sheep, goats, and hay. Check out the free Livestock Market magazine wherever you pick up Tractor House, and download the Livestock Market mobile app today.
Farmers, did you know that KTS provides high-efficiency potassium and sulfur, promoting exceptional growth and quality? Thiosulfate sulfur in Thiosol and KTS also protects your nitrogen investment, supporting higher yields in cotton and corn while reducing nitrate leaching and ammonia volatilization. Protect your investment and boost your yields. Call your local ag dealer today or visit cropvitality.com.
Quick hits, bold takes, and all the action.
I'll take that action.
Welcome back to the Morning Blitz.
Once again, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there here on this Tuesday, March the 17th. Going to be a windy one today, but a warm one. 32 degrees outside right now. Our high in the low 70s for this St. Patrick's Day. We roll along here on the show. Excited to bring him back on and congratulate him on a fantastic year that he had. We welcome to the program. He joins us on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. That is our good friend, Sam Hadfield, who joins us now. Sam, good morning. How are we doing today?
Good morning, Ross. Doing great. Having a great post-selection Sunday celebration, looking at the bracket, picking out the teams. It's going to be a fantastic week of basketball.
I have to so I got to give the props here. I bookmarked this. I want to make sure that people know, but Sam this year, 68 of 68 teams selected correctly. For those who don't know, that's 100%. 54 of 68 teams seated perfectly in this year's bracket. 14 teams seated just one line off. No teams 2+ lines off. It is the best year in 801 bracketology history. You must be getting the hang of this thing, Sam.
I must be doing something right. There was a couple teams that I missed just off of some tinkering that I did Sunday morning, and there's a couple more that I didn't want to tinker with that I missed, but I did pretty well overall.
So was it one of those deals where you're like, dang it, if I just would have left it alone, I would have been even more right?
Yeah, I think so.
Sam Hadfield, our guest from 801 Bracketology. I'll start out with this. What were, and in your case, there weren't a lot, but what were some of the small surprises that maybe caught you just a little bit?
Yeah, I ended up surprised that the committee gave Arkansas a 4 seed and Vanderbilt a 5 seed for a couple of reasons. I like that they did it, but usually at this point of conference tournaments in the late Saturday, early Sunday, the committee has kind of already polished out what they're going to do. And we've seen examples in past years where the Sunday results don't matter as much, and they don't really take those into consideration. There's many good examples of that over the past few years. So I was glad that they did. I still feel like Vanderbilt probably earned more than a 5 seed, especially after taking it to Florida on Saturday. They beat up on Florida by 20 points. And so that surprised me a little bit, but I think Vanderbilt's in a really good spot in the bracket to do some damage. So maybe the committee threw him a bone there. I was consistently debating who was going to end up in the play-in game, whether it was NC State or Mizzou in the first 4, and who was going to be the 10 seed. And that was one that I changed Sunday morning, where I flipped Mizzou to the play-in game and NC State up to a 10 seed, and that ended up just being barely wrong. And so that was one that I wish I hadn't switched.
Sam, what are your thoughts on Purdue? I feel like they were the biggest movers when it came to this. I think when they entered that championship week, I think many people maybe had them as maybe anywhere from a 3 to a 5, and ended up getting to the 2 line by going through a great run in the Big Ten tournament. I thought they were maybe the biggest movers before the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a little bit surprising to see them move up to a 2 seed, but I guess that's what you get for winning the Big Ten championship. I wouldn't have done that personally, moved Purdue all the way up to a 2 seed, regardless of the result of the Big Ten championship, just because I think this is a team that has shown a tremendous amount of holes over the past month. They've lost 6 home games this year. They've looked pretty bad against some really good teams. I didn't think that a 2 seed was in the equation for Purdue. If they had won the Big Ten championship like they did, I had them as the top 3 seed. I didn't think that they were going to get bumped all the way to a 2, but here we are.
Sam Hadfield's our guest, 801 Bracketology, talking March Madness, which gets going here tonight with the first 4. I saw the SEC had the most teams selected, I think, with 10, and then I think the Big 12 and the Big 10 were just behind them. Were you surprised by that? Because, boy, I sure was that the SEC had more teams in than the Big 12 or the Big 10. And I was looking at it yesterday. You're looking at like Missouri and a few other teams. You're like, boy, they just have barely gotten in. What are your thoughts on the SEC getting the most teams into the tournament? Was that the right decision?
Yeah, I think it was the right decision this year, and for a couple of reasons, I guess. When you look at the Big 12 and the Big 10, those teams have very elite, top of the league teams. When you look at the SEC, there's Florida that's kind of a top tier team, and then there's Arkansas that's a top tier team, Alabama. But after that, it kind of falls off. And There's a lot of very good middling teams in the SEC. And the SEC had a great year because those middling teams kept beating up on each other and giving each other good wins. Whereas in the Big 12, those top tier teams, the top 6, were just hammering up on the lower teams, on the middle teams, and same in the Big 10. And so I'm not terribly surprised that a lot of the middle teams in the Big 10, Big 12 didn't end up making it, and the SEC did get some of those teams in.
What are some of the more fascinating first round matchups in your mind?
Yeah, I've got a list out actually that I'm going to put on social media of my favorite matchups to start March Madness. So let me pull out just a couple for you. I am really excited about Ohio State TCU. That's the first game that we get going with on Thursday morning. So that'll be our first thing that we see in the NCAA tournament. It's a matchup of two teams that are coming in pretty hot. Ohio State and TCU have both been playing really well recently. They both play very good defense. TCU's been elite defensively all year. Ohio State just in the last few weeks has been really good defensively. But some heavyweight hitters in the first matchup of the tournament. We get David Punch and Bruce Thornton. It's going to be blow for blow. They're going to match each other. It's a perfect way to start March Madness. I'm pumped about that one. The second one I've got on my list happens later that morning. It's Louisville, South Florida. Excited for that for a couple of reasons. I think I've been pretty consistent saying that I would pick whoever South Florida was, or I would pick South Florida and whoever they were playing against in the first round. And I actually have South Florida advancing all the way to the Sweet 16 in my bracket. It is a very good team. They've looked tremendous over the last 2 months since kind of the turn of the year. And I would not be shocked to see them hammer up on Louisville and then beat Michigan State to get to the Sweet 16. I also have BYU versus whoever they play in their game, whether it's Texas or NC State, just because I think both of those are bad matchups for BYU. And it will be tremendously interesting to see if BYU can dictate the pace there, they could win that game. If they don't, then I think whoever is the first 4 team that comes out of that game is going to win against BYU. And then my fourth one that I'll end with is Kentucky, Santa Clara. Really pumped about that matchup. Not just because it's kind of a David Goliath type matchup, but I think Santa Clara actually matches up really, really well with Kentucky. And Elijah Mahi is a player that I've kind of highlighted as critically important there for Santa Clara. Santa Clara kind of comes and goes as he goes. If he plays well, they play really well and they usually win. If he doesn't play well, then they're usually losing. And so that's a player that I would watch for. But I think that Santa Clara has all of the pieces that they would need to beat a good Kentucky team. So watch for that one.
You mentioned South Florida as a double-digit seed that could have a nice little run. Are there any other double-digit seeds that have a decent path?
Yeah, there's several that have a pretty dang good path here. A couple that I'll highlight. Akron, I think, is a team that's set up very well in the bracket to make a run. They've got to get past a tough Texas Tech team, but it is a tough Texas Tech team that has lost JT Toppin for the year, that just lost Christian Anderson to injury in the Big 12 tournament, and who knows how healthy he's going to be. I believe it was a groin injury that he sustained. So they're going to have to survive some heavy athleticism from Texas Tech. But if they do, and they get to advance in the bracket, they would get Alabama without Aiden Holloway or Hofstra, depending on who wins that first round matchup. And I would actually like Akron in either of those matchups. And then they've got to advance to probably play Michigan in the Sweet 16, which I would anticipate that's where the run ends. But I think it's a decent setup for Akron to make that run to the Sweet 16.
Once again, we are joined by Sam Hadfield, 801 Bracketology, joining us on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream here on this Tuesday, which is perfect timing because the tournament starts tonight with the first 4. Is that Texas game the most intriguing first 4 game to you, the Texas-NC State contest?
Absolutely. That is by far the most intriguing one. Anywhere that you look, it's going to be pretty much a pick-em. There's not much of a spread in that game. And just a couple things that stand out to me for that game tonight. NC State really likes to get up and run. They like to dictate pace. Texas kind of likes to sit back and take long possessions, force you to the end of the shot clock. It's just going to depend on who sets the pace in that game and who decides how they want to play. If NC State gets out and starts running, then Texas is going to be in trouble. If Texas forces NC State to take lots of possessions down to the end of the shot clock, then I think Texas will prevail. It could go one way or the other.
Sam, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask about our two regional teams in the bracket. Kansas gets Cal Baptist, and Nebraska meets Troy in Oklahoma City. What are your thoughts on those two games?
Yeah, I actually like both those matchups for Kansas and Nebraska. We'll start with Kansas, though. Kansas and Cal Baptist. Cal Baptist is severely undersized in that game. They have Dominique Daniels, he's a fantastic watch. He's a really fun watch. But Kansas absolutely has the athleticism at the guard level to kind of contain Dominique Daniels. I think it's a horrible matchup for Cal Baptist to get put in with Kansas. And so I would anticipate Kansas just blowing out Cal Baptist there this weekend and advancing to face St. John's, who I also think has a pretty good matchup against Northern Iowa. That matchup's going to be a big challenge for Kansas. That would probably be one of the best games of the tournament if they do end up facing St. John's in that round of 32 game. Just because St. John's is so elite defensively with Zubi Ejiofor, it could really go either way. And I could see St. John's coming out and just beating the crap out of Kansas, just like Kansas has had a kind of tendency to do over the last few weeks, is not show up in some of the big games. So would watch out for that one. If Kansas can get past that, though, they could face a banged-up Duke team and advance. So I think the bracket actually breaks really well for Kansas if they can win their first two games. And I could absolutely see Kansas as a Final Four team if they're able to get past those first two games. As for Nebraska, interesting matchup versus Troy. I do like Nebraska in this matchup for a couple of reasons. I think Nebraska has been elite defensively all season long, and they've shown that capability to play elite defense. Troy has struggled against elite defenses, but Troy has also shown a tendency to be able to play with the best teams in the country, where they won at USC, or they lost at USC in double overtime, and then like 2 nights later won at San Diego State in double overtime. So they're able to play with some of the best in the country, even if it's teams that just ended up outside of the tournament. There's a lot of pressure, obviously, on Nebraska coming in. The added pressure of never having won a tournament game, and this feeling like this team is the destiny, right? It's this team's year to win a game in the tournament, and there's a lot of added pressure when you add that in. And so I'll be very interested to see how Nebraska looks coming out on Thursday, and we'll just be watching to see if they're able to conquer that and win a tournament game, or if the added pressure is going to be too much and they'll have a struggle early. If they can jump out to an early lead, I think their defense is elite enough to hold off Troy and to win a tournament game.
Sam, how much would a home court advantage help a team in the tournament? Because I feel like Nebraska is going to have a massive following down in Oklahoma City, where they could have 15,000 in that arena for that game against Troy. Does that matter in the NCAA tournament?
Absolutely, yeah, it does. And if I'm being honest, that's probably the question that I've been asked the most this season is, where's Nebraska going to play? Where's Nebraska going to play? And my DMs have been filled for weeks now with, after every single game that Nebraska plays, it's like 4 Nebraska fans asking, all right, are we still lined up for Oklahoma City? I've already got my tickets. I got my hotel. And so I was really excited that the committee put them in Oklahoma City, and that worked out for them. Going to be absolutely fantastic environment-wise. I can't wait to see how the Nebraska fans show up, how they support that team. And they'll really need it if they're able to get past Troy, because I think McNeese has a bad matchup with Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's going to win that game. Vanderbilt, Nebraska gets really interesting because Vanderbilt does a lot of things really well, similar to some of the Big Ten teams that Nebraska has struggled with this year. And so Vanderbilt could be a very tough matchup for Nebraska, but if Nebraska has that home court advantage and the loud arena, then they're absolutely going to need it, is what I'll say.
You're going to Portland, right?
That's
Aren't you
right.
going to Portland? Are you excited about the teams in that vicinity?
I am super pumped about that region. It's given us some good underdogs, some very good mid-major teams that are going to be playing in that arena on Thursday, and we'll see if any of them advance to Saturday. But a couple things. I'll be cheering hard for those mid-major teams because I've really enjoyed watching them this year. But I think both of them that I'm thinking of, High Point and Hawaii, ended up with matchups that are pretty bad for them. I think High Point playing Wisconsin is going to be very tough based on some of the things that High Point doesn't do well. And I think Hawaii has a nightmare matchup against Arkansas. Hawaii is a very good team, but they like to force teams to shoot from the outside, and Arkansas loves to shoot from the outside. So it's going to be a challenge for Hawaii to game plan for Arkansas, and it's absolutely going to be a challenge for High Point to prepare for Wisconsin. Those two are going to be tough.
I don't know if you can do this or not. If you can't, that's fine. Could you give us your Final Four and who you think will be playing for a Natty?
Yeah, I absolutely can. I've got Arizona in my Final Four. I've got Duke in my Final Four, Houston, and Michigan. And I'll just go region by region. I got Michigan getting past, or I've got Arizona. Excuse me, I'm like trying to figure out the bracket in my brain.
You can just see him thinking.
I've got Arizona getting past BYU actually in the Elite Eight to make it to the Final Four. I have got Michigan making it past Iowa State. Excuse me. But I could see that game flipping either way. I think that would be one of the best games of the entire tournament if we were able to get that. I have got Duke getting past, I believe it's Michigan State to get to the Final Four. And then I've got Houston getting past Vanderbilt to get to the Final Four.
Fascinating. Who's your national champ?
I've got Arizona winning the national championship.
That's my boy. That's my boy.
Yeah. Should be a good one. I think this is the year Arizona gets over the hump. A lot of people are going to be talking over the next week about how it seems like Tommy Lloyd teams always choke at this point of the year. But this Arizona team is just built different, man. They are so good.
Oh, yeah.
And so elite. Any weakness that they have, they're able to make up with in 7 different ways. So I would anticipate them going far.
Yeah, them and Michigan are two. Just they feel like they're in a different line, a different cream of their own crop, and I could see them, being a great thing. He is Sam Hatfield, 801 Bracketology. Sam, I can't thank you enough, my friend. It's always great to visit. We'll have to do it again, maybe before the Final Four.
I would love to do that. Thank you for having me on.
All right, great stuff there, Sam Hatfield, 801 Bracketology. Fantastic stuff there from him. Really appreciate him joining us on the show. He was fantastic. If you missed any of that conversation, go back and check out the podcast page. All right, we're going to hit our next break. When we come back, we're going to talk quickly about the 5 most impactful players that I think you'll be talking about and seeing the most in the NCAA tournament this year. That's next as we wrap up the show here on a Tuesday on the Morning Blitz.
We've been serving ag families for generations because we believe farming isn't just a job, it's a legacy. Whether you're just starting out or expanding your operation, F&B Bank has flexible lending solutions designed for you. This is Loan Officer Kennedy Frank at F&B Bank. We're proud to be your hometown ag lender, member FDIC.
The days are getting longer, the roads are calling, and it's a great time to upgrade your ride at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland. Right now, get 1.9% APR for 36 months on a 2026 GMC Terrain, the perfect SUV for wherever the road takes you. Need a truck? Take advantage of up to $7,000 in rebates on a 26 GMC Sierra 1500 with eligible trade-in. And for serious capability, get $500 bonus cash on a new 2026 GMC 3500. See the full lineup today at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland or online at hurlchev.com.
You can feel it in the air. Longer days, greener lawns, and plenty of projects waiting around the house. Good thing Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland has you covered. Freshen up your home with Benjamin Moore paint, tackle the yard with powerful Ego battery tools, and give your lawn the boost it needs with Stage 1 Ultimate Fertilizer. Thinking about cooking outside? Check out their great selection of grills, griddles, smokers, and outdoor living essentials. And remember, if you need it, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware probably has it. They even have milk. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your place for just about everything.
Get ready for the 10th annual Schilling Cattle Production Sale. It's happening Wednesday, March 25th at 1 p.m. Central Time in Brewster, Kansas. We're selling 50 Angus bulls, 2 Limflex bulls, and 20 Angus heifers. Big, stout, performance-driven cattle with an excellent selection of Calvin-Ease bulls. You can check out the cattle on Facebook at Schilling Cattle and watch the sale live on DV Auction. Come see great cattle, meet great people, and enjoy some fantastic food. Mark your calendar now for the Schilling Cattle Production Sale on Wednesday, March 25th.
You're listening to the High Plains only local sports talk show.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
The Morning Blitz.
Wrapping up a St. Patrick's Day show here on the Morning Blitz. Once again, a big thank you to Sam Hadfield for joining the show. He was fantastic, as he usually is, breaking down everything when it comes to the NCAA tournament. Once again, get out and pick up your bracket. Be a part of our NWKS Radio Bracket Challenge. Text the word bracket, 460-0790, and you can find out where to pick up your bracket today. Real quickly, before we get out of here, I wanted to get into my most impactful players that I think we're going to be talking. Now, these once again are guys that there's going to be guys you talk about in the first round, you guys from mid majors and stuff that have huge game, maybe like a TJ Power of Penn or something like that. I'm talking about guys that I think you're going to be consistently talking about this weekend, into the next weekend, and maybe even into the Final Four. So they're going to be on some of the better teams. And so if you're a big-time college basketball fan, these guys are not going to surprise you, but maybe you're not a fan of college basketball and follow it as closely. But I think there are some really high-end, impactful players that you're going to be talking about this year. So I'll go 5 through. My number 5 one is Iowa State forward Joshua Jefferson, the senior, 6'9", 240. He does a little bit of everything for Iowa State. Averages 17 points per game, grabs almost 8 rebounds, and has 5 assists. He stuffs the stat sheet and really makes Iowa State go, which is a pretty decently balanced team. He's not the leading scorer, but he does a lot of things right for Iowa State. My number 4 most impactful player is going to be Cam Boozer of Duke. You watch him play. He does a lot. He's a lot like Joshua Jefferson, except he does it at a higher level, averaging over 22 points per game, grabbing 10 rebounds and 4 assists. He can do it all. He's 6'9", 250, a big forward for Duke. He's a star. He's going to be a top 3 pick. I think Duke's going to make a pretty deep run. I think he will be a guy that probably we are talking about a lot in the NCAA tournament. My number 3 guy is Illinois point guard Keaton Wagler, the freshman from Shawnee, Kansas. He's 6'6", but he handles the ball great. He averages 18 points, dishes out over 4 assists, and grabs 5 rebounds a game. He also stuffs the stat sheet. He makes big-time shots. I think Illinois is a really good basketball team, and I think they can make a really deep run in this year's tournament because they have so much talent and so much size and so much skill with that size. They're really, really good, and Keaton Wagler orchestrates all of that. He's a guy that you're going to hear a lot of people talking about in the NCAA tournament. My number 2 guy, this was a hard one because I thought there needed to be a guy from Arizona because I think Arizona is going to have a really deep run, as we heard Sam Hadfield talk about. He hasn't picked to go to the NCAA tournament championship game and win it all. But for Arizona, I've got to go with Braden Burries, even though it's a very balanced lineup, and that's what makes it great. They've got 5 guys that average 10 or more points per game. But Braden Burries, he's not even their leading scorer, but he averages 16 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He's a freshman, but he's very talented. He does a lot of things for them. I think he's a guy you're going to hear a lot of people talk about and be a very impactful player in the NCAA tournament. And probably the number 1 most impactful player in the NCAA tournament that you'll hear the most about, probably see most of the highlights about, that kind of stuff, is going to be Michigan forward Yaxel Landenborg. He makes big-time shots. He's a humongous body at 6'9", 240, but he can play like a guard. He has 15.7 boards and 3 assists on a loaded Michigan team who I think, once again, could make a deep run. The problem is they're on the same side of the bracket as Arizona, so I don't know if they're going to play for a national championship or not. We'll see. But Yaxel Landenborg, I think, is probably the most impactful player in the NCAA tournament. He has been amazing this entire year, and so I look for him to have a huge March as well. There you go, my 5 most impactful players in the NCAA tournament. Let's get to the walk-off.
High drive, deep left, grand slam! And back lifts his ball deep to right. How about a walk-off three? Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes swings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
Going to the Diamond, Colby Community College softball yesterday earned a split with Howard College. They lost 10-8, but won game 2, 12-9. They're 12-10, and still in Texas today, taking on the Lady Chaps of Midland College Colby Community College Baseball hopes to end a 9-game streak this afternoon. They are outside of conference play hosting Otero, who is just 3-13, but they have won back-to-back games coming into today's doubleheader. Look out for Colby player Turner Zadunich hitting .362 with 7 home runs, 25 RBIs. He's been great this year. First pitch, 1 o'clock Central Time at Young Memorial Field. More baseball. USA versus Venezuela. That is your WBC final as Venezuela knocked out Italy, which is unfortunate. A funny thing, MLB.com did a ranking of which MLB teams' players are making the most impact in the WBC. Number 1, the Kansas City Royals. How could it not? Jack Caglione and Vinny Pasquantino at Italy. You got Bobby Witt Jr., of course, on Team USA. Also, Team Venezuela's got Michael Garcia. They're all making massive impacts in the WBC. Exciting things for the Royals ahead. First 4 starts tonight. You've got UMBC versus Howard, and then Texas, NC State, the 2 games in the first 4 of the NCAA tournament. Also tonight, it's the first round of the NIT, which semi-regional teams, Wichita State and Wyoming, face off tonight down there at Koch Arena in Wichita. That'll do it for our program today. A full show, but a fun show. Missed any of it? Go back and check out the podcast. Anywhere you get your podcast, just search for The Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer. Thanks to Sam Hadfield. Thanks to you for listening all show long. Back again tomorrow for our final show of the week. That's right. No shows Thursday or Friday. We'll talk to you tomorrow. You want to be around. We've got a very, very, that's right, 3 special guests joining us tomorrow here on The Morning Blitz. We'll see you then. Have a good one.